Hey guys, what is going on? It is Anthony DeFilio here, back again with another video, and today we're going to be checking out the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I would really appreciate your support. That being said, we're going to be reviewing the Quad Cortex. So I'm not going to go through every little nick and cranny when it comes to the Quad Cortex, because there are a bunch of videos that go way more in depth. We're just going to go right over the general stuff, and then I'll plug it in later. But on this Quad Cortex, we have a touch screen where you can create presets and put in your amp, your cabinet, all digital, along with like your effects, and you can create all sorts of complex signal chains, stereo rigs, mono rigs, really cool stuff. And you can even download presets on the Cortex Control app on your computer and plug this in via USB, which I think is really super duper cool. And what's also really cool along with these switches is you can rotate these when you're tweaking your settings or certain parameters, whether it be the effects or your amp settings on here. And what's also really cool is how responsive it is. Every time I would gig with this, I really liked how much more responsive it was to switch between my rhythm tone and my lead tone and my clean tone with scenes. Whereas when I was using my Kemper, it would always hesitate and it would really bother me. But this was always a lifesaver in a live scenario, and the technology and just the overall like build quality on it is just really freaking good. What's also really cool is how easy it is. Like you literally, this is as plug and play as it gets when it comes to modelers. It's not complex like a Fractal, and it's not like an outdated user interface like the Kemper where in order to create your presets, you have to wait until you get home to do it on the computer. This, you can do it on the fly, which is really, really nice. So let's say you're away on tour and it's like, oh, I want to, put my reverb in this place or this place instead. Well, when I had the Kemper, I could barely do that. I had to wait until I got home. But with this, you can literally do it on the fly, and it's easy to save, and it makes things so much more easier. And that's why I'm really excited to present this with you guys, and I can't wait to plug it in and show you what this is all about. I'm gonna go over some clean sounds, some effects, some rhythm sounds, as well as some lead tones. So without further ado, we're gonna plug this thing in for you guys, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. So now that you've heard the Quad Cortex, we're going to now go over the pros and cons. Starting with the pros, what I really like about this modeler is the effects sound really freaking good. Every time I use the delay or reverb whenever I was playing live with it, it just sounded so good. It was a huge step up for me when I plugged this thing in and I was creating my signal chains with it, and I immediately noticed the difference right away coming from Kemper to Quad Cortex, that the effects in this are absolutely, without a doubt, hands down superior. Like, I really am very impressed with the effects. The second pro that I also like about the Quad Cortex is how easy it is to create signal chains and channels and be able to program things. It's extremely responsive too when you're changing channels live. One thing I did not like about using Kemper previously to this was the fact that every time I would change even channels that were programmed with it, it would like hesitate for like a second, maybe like a millisecond or two, and I would sometimes have to press it twice just to get it to respond in time. But with the Quad Cortex, it has not given me any issues in terms of reliability, in terms of the program function when it comes to your presets and your channels in a live scenario. This thing is very gig friendly, and I love that about it. But yeah, the effects and the overall like user interface and just creating sounds and all sorts of soundscapes is very easy to use. And there's a wide selection that you can use with it. You can buy DLC packs for the Quad Cortex, and it's really good. I also like that it's easy to hook up. You don't really need a speaker cabinet for this, and you can literally just plug this in, take this to your gig, and then as long as the place has a PA system, you're good to go. And it's just that easy. Oh yeah, a couple more pros I forgot to mention too is how compact it is. You don't need an extra foot controller or anything unless you need like an expression pedal or a wah to attach to this. But it has all the effects you need for the most part, and it just really works really well in a gigging scenario, like I said. What's really cool too, that's another pro about this that I forgot to mention, is that not only do you have the touchscreen to create your presets and really dial them in more, but you also have the foot switches themselves that even are knobs themselves, which is really freaking cool. And that's something that I really think is a really genius idea that Neural DSP came with. And another pro I also should mention is the fact that you can use your Neural plugins that are so far compatible on here. So really cool. There's a lot of selling points to this. And for how much this costs, I think this serves an incredible purpose for the gigging musician. So with all the pros that I did mention about the Neural DSP Quad Cortex, what are the cons of this modeler? The first con that we have to talk about with the Quad Cortex is the fact that it does not come with a case. Now, is that a deal breaker? No, not really. But for how much this costs at like $1,800 roughly before tax, give or take, I mean, with the case, you're going to be spending close to now $2,000, if not a little bit over after tax. So depending on the retailer you get it from and if they offer free shipping or not, it's something that, again, it's not a big deal, but again, I just have to tell this for the concept of this video. The second con, however, that I did not like when gigging with this is how close the foot switches are together. Now, you may think on camera that there's plenty of space between these, and like, I'll be honest, I could make it work for me, but at the same time, when you're playing live and you're moving around and you got to think quick when you're changing presets or you're changing, I don't know, tones or, channels on the fly from like this effect to that effect, it can be rather frustrating when you keep accidentally hitting, say, this foot switch instead of that one. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just have to be a lot more cautious when you are using this live. If you're just at home and you're using it, you don't have to worry about it. But when you're playing out live and you have like shoes on, it can be rather frustrating. And that's one thing I absolutely have to include on the cons list because I'm not a fan of that design flaw. But then again, nothing is perfect at the end of the day. And speaking of design flaws, one thing that I absolutely do not like, and I made it work when I was playing out live, is I do not like the location of the power supply. The reason I say this is because with how the power supply works, like when you put it in here and it's still like sort of loose or it's not as firm, like you have to be cautious because if like, let's say, you're on stage and this moves and that thing slips out, then your whole thing is powered off and you have to wait until it restarts to be able to, continue playing throughout the song. That's one design flaw I do not care for on the Quad Cortex. That being said, does it take anything away for how the unit works? No. But there are some flaws that I do have to speak of, and this, along with the foot switch design, is something that is worth mentioning in case somebody, may not be able to live with these things. But other than that, I mean, I don't really think there's really any other major cons, but for what it is, though, I think that this is a massive step up from the original Kemper. I can't talk about the Kemper V2, and I will say that the Quad Cortex is definitely even a step up from Helix as well. So if you're in the market for this and you're a touring, gigging musician, then it's absolutely worth it. It really is. But one thing I do have to say though is that if you're somebody that prefers tube amps, unless you're somebody that is gigging constantly, I don't think that this is for you unless you're using it as like an effects pedal to where you're running like a hybrid tube and digital rig. But if you're somebody that is a tube amp purist like myself and you're wanting to possibly thinking about picking one of these up, I don't know as if it's really worth the investment because when it comes to technology, again, I have to speak about use on this and resale value, but technology always depreciates in value. And if you are gonna get any modeler for that matter, I always say, how much use are you gonna do with it? Because if you're only using this out live and you're not gonna really use it at home, then I would say it's not worth it. But if you're somebody that loves your tube amps at home and in studio, and then you wanna just take this out live to make things as simple as possible, especially if you're going overseas to play shows, then I would say absolutely this is worth it. So wrapping up my final thoughts, I'm gonna be giving the Quad Cortex an 8 out of 10 guitar picks. I think this is still an incredible product, and I think it serves an incredible purpose for the modern musician and the gigging musician alike, especially if you're gonna be playing overseas and you don't wanna take all your analog stuff. I'm not gonna say it's not worth the money or it's not worth the price that you pay, because I do think that it absolutely serves an incredible purpose. But for what it is, I wish it did come with a case at $1,800. But again, I'm just nitpicking here just for the sake of this video. I mean, this is a review at the end of the day. That being said, do I like the product? Yeah, I definitely like the product. Does it serve incredible purpose? It absolutely does. I can tell you right now though, that Neural DSP is a relatively new company, and I think they have a bright future ahead of them. That being said, I do recommend this product if people are wanting to take as little as possible on the road and they just want to plug it to front of house and just be set and forget and done and just be ready to play, go, get off stage as quick as possible, then yeah, definitely go with it. That being said, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell right down below. I'm Anthony DeFilio, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.